The Secret of the Attic. Chapter 1. A New Neighbor. I thought the girls invited you to go sledding. Heather startled at the sound of her mother's voice. She was so absorbed in what was going on across the street. They did, she said. And also to their Christmas party, too. I'm supposed to bring an ornament. Oh, Mrs. Hardin nodded knowingly as she peeled tape from a packing box that had been stored in the basement since the family's move back to her hometown the 3 months before. Would you like me to help you make one? She asked. Heather shook her head. That's okay. Maybe I'll just stay here. She cast a wistful glance out the window at the 3 girls that were pitching snowballs in Allison McCann's front yard. Would they understand if she only went sledding with them and not to the party? What if they thought she was stuck up and didn't want to be their friend? Heather's gaze wandered to the moving van parked at the deserted Victorian house next to the McCanns. The girls seemed to be having too much fun to even notice, but Heather couldn't help but notice. Her father was a pilot, and he had been transferred often by his airline. Heather felt as if she'd spent her whole life packing and unpacking. Of course she'd wonder who was moving in, but maybe now she'd no longer be the new kid on the block. Mrs. Hardin smiled. So why don't you go join your friends, or at least go sledding? It'll be fun. Heather's breath formed steamy clouds on the chilly window pane. Fun, she thought. That was all that Allison, Keisha, and Megan had talked about before school let out for vacation. The first snowfall, going sledding, caroling, and trimming the tree. Heather took a deep breath and grabbed her parka. Pulling her long dark hair from under her collar, she dashed out the door. As Allison formed another perfect ball of snow, she glanced up just in time to see the Hardins' glass door slam shut across the street. She had seen Heather's father out shoveling their walk earlier that morning, but already a fluffy white blanket had settled over the top. Now Heather's white high tops all but disappeared, leaving only the holes of her footprints in the snow, as the girl's newest friend hurried towards them and she crossed the street. Hi, Keisha, Megan, and Allie, Heather waved. Don't move, Allison commanded, brushing the snowflakes off her eyes and her bangs. Taking careful aim, she fired off a snowball that exploded right at Heather's feet. See that? I'm ready to pitch for the Eagles, don't you think? She told the girls a zillion times she'd been dying to qualify for the team, ever since her older brother had first gotten his uniform. In a couple more years, she could have as many trophies for basketball and softball and soccer as her brother Mark did when he was 12. So what do you think? Oh, that was just a lucky shot, said Heather. No way, said Allison as she laughed and packed another snowball. Megan and Keisha gathered close to watch their friend show off her arm. They took up a chant, Go Allie, go Allie, go Allie. Allison played to her audience. I bet I can hit the tip of the V on that moving van, she boasted. No, don't do it, said Megan Ryder as she twirled a lock of her strawberry blonde hair around her finger. Look, they're putting up the ramp. Even you could miss it and hit one of the movers. Keisha Vance tilted her head, her long dark brown hair creeping out from beneath her purple cap as she eyed up the van. How could those movers be done already? Didn't the new people have any furniture, and where were they anyway? When the Vances moved here, her mother and father were around the whole time. They made sure the movers didn't break anything. Keisha was only 5 then, but still, she remembered how scared she was when her mother finished nursing school and found a job in a new state. They'd been very lucky that her father was hired as a hospital administrator here too. Even so, Keisha had worried about finding her way home from school, about leaving her friends behind and making new ones. Now, though, it felt as though she'd known Megan and Allison all of her life, and Heather seemed to be fitting right in with the group. The van rumbled to a start, and then it rolled away. Allison lobbed her missile high and long to the exact middle of the wide depression where the tailgate had rested in the snow. "See," she said, "I told you." Megan applauded, while Keisha made a grand gesture of doffing her ski cap and bowing low, even though she winked at Heather. "And now," said Keisha, "get we to the Hillary." Heather and Megan laughed, but Allison's lips formed a lopsided frown. "It's a Shakespeare joke," Megan said. "You know, a takeoff from Get Thee to a Nunnery from Hamlet. Mom rented the video, but not that I couldn't read it if I wanted to." Keisha grabbed a small plastic shopping bag off the porch and handed a larger one to Allison. "Come on, you guys, let's get on with the fun." "Want to race?" said Allison. Megan shook her head, though her steps were brisk. She wished that she were headed for the ski slopes instead. She would fly down that mountain faster than a hawk, faster than a jet that was taking her father to the Middle East to cover another news story. Her dad said he just couldn't turn this assignment over to anyone else. But to Megan, that only meant that he'd be unable to take her to his house this Christmas. The other girls would be with both their parents, as they were every day. "Megan," Keisha called. "Come on, you too, Heather." Megan sped up again, and soon she caught up with Keisha and Allison. Heather, however, lagged behind, kicking at the snowdrifts, listening to the bags crackling in the cold. She wondered what sorts of ornaments were nestled inside. As the 3 girls came to the old Victorian house next to the McCanns, a shimmering like butterfly wings caught Allison's eye. Nudging the others, she pointed to a woman who was wearing a flowing gold scarf and a long white coat. She was fastening a wreath to the front door. Allison wondered what it was made of. It wasn't evergreens, that was for sure. A thick silvery braid hung down the woman's back. A moment later, Heather too looked towards the porch. The woman was opening a stepladder and climbing up. In her hand was a sign that read, "Lessons." The carved cornice on the old house seemed to set the new neighbor off perfectly, just like the frame for a museum masterpiece. Heather couldn't help but be curious.